DNVR Broncos beat reporter, friend of the program, our guy Zac Stevens from DNVR. Let's get him on the phone. Zac, we're sitting here. We had previewed probably 5 to 7 pass rushers that the Cardinals could target. They were linked to all the top dogs, and much to our, let's just call a spade, disappointment, they trade for a guy with a lot of potential, but at the same time, minimal production. What can you tell us from the former third rounder from Denver?
Let me bring some positivity and some sunshine here, because I totally understand. You look at the stats, you look at the lack of production, and you think, man, this is so underwhelming. But you only traded a 6th-round pick for him. Again, you're probably willing to give up a little more for a better player or more productive player. Baron Browning is incredibly talented, and I'm not just blowing smoke your guys' way. I really like this trade for the Cardinals. Again, you probably could have got someone with a little more production, a lot more production, but I like this trade because he is very talented, and it's talent that has not been realized. That's for sure. But he was a former 3rd-round pick that really has the talent of maybe even higher than that when he was drafted. He was a tweener coming out of Ohio State, played inside linebacker, played outside linebacker. Teams didn't know where he was going to go. The Broncos started him at inside linebacker. Then they moved him to outside because they thought he was just more talented and was going to produce better at outside linebacker. So this is a guy that's kind of bounced around a little bit, but he has tremendous burst off the line. He's got a fantastic bend. And when he was really hitting his stride a couple of years ago, there was a 5-game stretch where he had 5 sacks. That was the most productive stretch of his career. And during that time, people inside the Broncos facility were saying, man, this guy's bend around the corner reminds us of Von Miller. Now, it was a very limited stretch and kind of ended there. Obviously, no sacks this year, only a couple of tackles this season. And he's a guy that has really struggled with injuries. So that's something that's really hindered him. And I think that's probably what's hindered him and really limited his productivity this season. But if he's able to stay healthy, he is a guy that can get you a sack a game for a stretch. Now, it's about putting that together, and that's why he hasn't really been productive and lived up to the talent that he has.
Yeah, Zac, so let's get into kind of a little bit more about why, he needed maybe a change of scenery here to go from Denver to the desert. What was it that, outside of health, that it was that it? Was it just, or as far as inconsistencies as far as his play goes when he has been healthy, what do you view as maybe those issues?
Yeah, the injuries is the biggest one. So he played the first week for the Broncos this year, started that game, and then got a foot injury, so went on IR for 4 games, came back. And guys, this year, I actually think for the Broncos aren't going all in this season, but we're all talking about 2 playoff teams as it stands right now. And the Broncos did get worse by making this trade. They got worse for next week and the following week. Maybe not long term. I understand from the Broncos side why they did this move, but Baron Browning was their starting outside linebacker, along with the guy who they just paid $15 million a year for, and Jonathan Cooper. Over the weekend, the Broncos paid Jonathan Cooper 4 years, $60 million deal. He and Baron Browning are on expiring contracts, so they had to make a decision on who they wanted to keep. They decided to keep Jonathan Cooper, who has been a more productive player as of recently, and then move on from Baron Browning because they have a lot of youth in that outside linebacker room. So they had to choose. They chose to not keep Baron Browning. And Baron is a guy, though, again, this year, he's played the 2nd most snaps at outside linebacker for the Broncos. And the Broncos are roll 5 deep at outside linebackers. So that kind of shows they did value him, even though their production wasn't there. And we need to talk about Baron more than just a pass rusher. I mentioned he's also played inside linebacker before, so he can cover guys, but where he's also strong, he's strong in the run game. So you're not just getting a pass rusher. I know you guys are probably looking strictly for pass rushers, so this doesn't necessarily help hearing it, but he is an outside linebacker and a well-rounded player as well. And that just the key is staying healthy consistently. Like I said, a couple years ago, he did have a 5-game stretch where he had 5 sacks in that stretch. That's when the Broncos were really excited about him. Unfortunately, just not able to do it consistently.
Zac, we appreciate the time, my friend. Go follow him right now, Zac Stevens, DNVR, right now on Twitter. Denver Broncos took a tough L yesterday in Baltimore, but viable nonetheless. And as my guy Zac said, en route for a potential postseason berth behind Bo Nix. we will do our best to take care of the newest acquisition, ex-Cardinal, or excuse me, ex-Bronco outside linebacker. Zac, it's good to see you, my guy.
Great to see you guys too. And hey, maybe we're talking about a Broncos Cardinals Super Bowl this year. Maybe throw $5 over at Bet365 for it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I mean, we're burning draft picks and some money potential. No, I love it, man. I love the optimism. I love the insight. You have a great rest of your Monday, and hopefully, some trades start flying off, and maybe Peyton and crew get some help on the way there to the Mile High City.
Yeah, I'm not expecting it. I think we're going to be just as disappointed as you guys. But I appreciate you guys having me on, and good luck with Barron out there.
Thanks, Zac. Awesome stuff. If I couldn't say it more, you got to follow him on Twitter at Zac Stevens, DMVR.
He's a great guy, great follow, one of our favorites in the All City family, and tapping in on his knowledge. And again, a lot of his stuff, I feel like a lot of his comments have been echoed on Twitter by the supporters of this move. And I always want to look at the best parts of a trade, right? I feel like hang on. We're pretty optimistic people on this pod. I feel like people are negative boys, fanboys, negative.
Sometimes I mean, to dress this up as, hey, we're glass half full guys, most of the time is a stretch, but at the same time, I understand where, you thought you were going to make a splash, and this was far from it. Now, Damon is a big Baron Browning guy, and I need to hear his case on this.
I don't know if I'd say a big Baron Browning guy, but I do think he's better than
you're leading the charge.
Yeah, I think he's better than a lot of what they have at the position already, and I think that he's going to improve the team. So while I'm not maybe thrilled if this is the only move, I think this is a step in the right direction of maybe getting two guys that could, drastically improve this edge rushing room.
Well, we talked about it off air. I think Bo and I are of the opinion it's going to be their only move. I think had this been what we had hoped,
that'd be disappointing.
I think everybody needs to prepare. We're operating under the impression that this is the only move. If we were given any reason to believe they were still going out and trying to maybe add another piece, I'd feel great about this. 2025 sixth rounder as opposed to picking 2026. Uche was a 2026 seventh? It's a pick. Nobody's gonna see that pick for years. This is a pick. Ossenford clutches his picks very tightly, and he does good things with them. Right? Yeah. They were on full display on Sunday, but I'm going to push back on the people. There are a lot of people out there right now that feel like the Cardinals have no shot at the postseason and the playoffs, and it would be stupid to invest in this team. And that's just kind of a sad way to go about rooting for a team. I think this team has proven that it's well coached and they're ahead of schedule. And this could have been a move to fortify this roster for a stretch run. Everybody get your barf bags ready. San Francisco and the LA Rams are going to make moves tomorrow. They're going to make moves to get better. They're going to get hot in the second half of the season like they always do. And the Cardinals' answer to that is a guy that is a tweener, according to Zac Stevens, no sack production, and has been hurt this year. Just say the hard part out loud. What kind of podcast do you want this to be? I'm being serious with everybody. Do you want us to come on here and talk about how great a player is with no resume to speak of in recent memory? Or do you want us to be real and be like, I love this team. Ossenford and Gannon are doing great things. I'm fired up for this year. And I think they missed an opportunity to get better.
We all silly like the mayor.